Some atheists will say, look at this is a growth of a fable, where it started out that he healed many, and then it just grew. Oh, he healed all of them. No, I don't think that's what's being said here. In Mark, it says, the whole city was gathered at his door, and he healed many that were... He's not healing the whole city because the whole city isn't sick. There are many in the city who are sick. In Luke, it says, all they that had any sick with diverse diseases brought them to him, and he laid his hands on every one of them. He's healing all the sick, not all the people who came to his door. Verse 33, and all the city was gathered together at the door, and he healed many that were sick of diverse diseases. Look at that. Diverse diseases is put in there. And cast out many devils. That's annoying. Okay, in Luke, and devils came out of many, crying out, saying, you are Christ, the Son of God. And he rebuked them, permitting them not to speak, for they knew that he was the Christ. And when it was day, okay, so it just says, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. All the city, it doesn't say all the city was gathered together at his door. So I think I can just put that in there for Mark. All the city was gathered together at his door, and he laid his hands on every one of them. Yeah, I'll put that just from Mark. And all the city was gathered together at the door. Now, Mark says, and he healed many that were sick of diverse diseases, and cast out many devils, and allowed not the devils to speak. Maybe I should just save that from Luke until now. Sick of diverse diseases as opposed to sick with diverse diseases, but pretty much the same thing. And then just say before the diseased. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to undo this portion in Luke, sick with diverse diseases. I'll just have the phrase diseased from Mark, and then after this, I'll work that into the sentence later on in Mark. All the city was gathered together at the door, and he healed many that were sick of diverse diseases. However, in Luke, it says, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. But this is specifically those sick with diverse diseases. Okay, so I have to put that portion, sick with diverse diseases, first. Although it says he healed many that were sick of diverse diseases in Mark. Mark says he's healing many of diverse diseases. In Luke, he's saying every one of them and healed them. Many that were sick. So I think we can still say he did heal all of them that were sick. And the many is referring to the fact that not all the people that came to him were sick, because a lot of them were carrying the people that were sick. So he healed the many that were sick. I think that's what it means. You know, I remember this, a friend of mine actually told me about this before, how some atheists will say, look at this is a growth of a fable, where it started out that he healed many, and then it just grew. Oh, he healed all of them. No, I don't think that's what's being said here. In Mark, where it says, they brought to him all that were diseased. The whole city was gathered at his door, and he healed many that were... Okay, he's not healing the whole city because the whole city isn't sick. There are many in the city who are sick, and in Luke, it says, all they that had any sick with diverse diseases brought them, meaning those who were sick to him, and he laid his hands on every one of them. He's healing all the sick, not all the people who came to his door. So these both work. I'm going to have to put that in here somewhere. Okay, so the city was gathered at his door, and he healed many that were sick of diverse diseases. I have to say, many that were sick of diverse diseases, and he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. Okay, so I ended at, and all the city was gathered at the door. I could then say, and skip the he healed, because that comes later in Luke, and just say, and many that were sick of diverse diseases, he laid his hands on every one of them and healed them. Looking at this verse 40 in Luke, I never used that word them, because that word isn't in Mark. No, it just says, they brought to him all that were diseased, and them that were possessed with devils. But that the devil's not mentioned in this verse in Luke, so I just didn't have them. They just brought them to him. So I just used the phrase, they brought to him. So that them is not there. I could use that them in this later section as a replace to he healed, or he healed many. I could say, and them, instead of and healed many in verse 34, I could say, and them from Luke earlier on, that were, and then from both, sick with diverse diseases. Although that's kind of a reorganizing. I don't think I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. So I'll just put and from both many that were sick of diseases. Okay, if I just say all instead of many, I think it's clear. He's healing all the sick, whereas this many that were sick, he healed. Okay, so if that's understood, if I cut out this many and just say, and he laid his hands on every one of them that were sick of diverse diseases, and then back to Luke, and healed them. Yeah, that's what I'll say. And now go to Luke only. He laid his hands on every one of them. If this them in Luke was just a thee, it would be really easy to then also put, he laid his hands on every one of the many that were sick of diverse diseases. Meaning the many in the crowd, that many, he healed all of that many that were in the crowd. That way I'm including both the many from Mark and the all from Luke, or the every one of them. I can't say he laid his hands on every one of them many that were sick. I'm gonna have to leave out this word many, but I don't think I'm changing the meaning, because it doesn't say in Luke, where it says all of them, that he's healing every single person in the city. He's healing the sick. And in Mark, it's not saying that he's only healing some of the sick. He's healing all the sick, but only many of the city are sick. So I'm just going to have to leave out the word many. And he laid his hands on every one of them that were from Mark, and then from both sick with diverse diseases, then only Luke, but at the very end of verse 40, and healed them. Oh, I know I'm going to be accused of cutting out that word from Mark, but I don't know how to make it work. They brought to him all that were diseased, and I don't know how to make it work. All the city was gathered together at the door, and he laid his hands on every one of them. Well, okay, it already looks like, because I have that after the verse from Mark, that he is laying his hands on every one of them from all the city. You're just going to have to see from the context that even though it says they brought to him all that were diseased and then they're possessed with devils, and all the city was gathered together at the door, and he lays his hands on every one of them, I guess it does seem from this writing that he does lay his hands on literally every single person, but that's the best way I could see to make it fit. No, it's not going to work when you're just reading it through. It's going to seem like it's saying he's laid his hands on every single one at the door, the whole city. No, I could, as long as I put that were sick of diverse diseases, it'll be clear. Okay, I can do that. That'll make it clear. So from Mark, I'll have these words, that were, and then from both sick with diverse diseases. It'll be clear he's not laying his hands on literally every person from the city. Sick of diverse diseases or sick with diverse diseases? I think I like with. They might be sick and tired of their diseases, but the point is that they have sicknesses, that they are diseased, so they're sick with diverse diseases. But then I'll have to say that's only from Luke. If I was sick for a long time, I'd be sick of my sickness. But the point is that they're sick with diverse diseases. And then I'm going to skip down to the very end of Luke and healed them. And then go back to Mark that is also casting out devils. And healed them. Verse 16, when the evening was come, and at evening when the sun was setting, and at evening or when the evening was come. I think I'll just leave it as it is, because it's not just at evening, it's also when the sun was setting. This is just saying when the evening was come. There's no mention of the sun at all. It's less descriptive. So I'll say the evening. So evening is Matthew, Mark. I could say that when, in the part where it says when the sun, could also be from Matthew at the beginning where it says when, but that's talking about when the evening was come. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll have when, because that word is in all three, even though it's out of order. When the sun was setting, they brought is in gray. To him is all three. It's a little out of order though, but I'll explain that. To him that were, so that is all three. Actually, I'm going to leave that as it was, and I'll save it for later where it says in Mark that were possessed, because that's what's being saying here, that were possessed with devils. So that were possessed with devils from Mark is now going to be both.